Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. We've got some really big cases that we'd love to have your help with, and that includes finding someone who's on the run after shooting a man in the Crestview area on May 12th.
That's right, and we also want to tell you why you might want to take steps to protect your mail. So let's go ahead and get started. And first up is that Crestview case. Okaloosa deputies are searching for 43-year-old Philip Beck following a Crestview area shooting that left one man injured on the afternoon of May 12th. Now, 45-year-old Tim Holt suffered a gunshot wound to his left arm during an argument with Beck outside a home on Smoky Branch Road at about 2:30 in the afternoon. Now, Beck is 6'5" tall and 370 pounds, so not exactly like he can hide very well. May have actually injured one of his legs during this incident. Authorities also believe he may be driving a gray Chevrolet Impala, could still be in the Crestview area, so keep an eye out for him. Of course, anybody with information about his whereabouts, you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers 100% anonymously.
And here's another big case, this one out of Walton County and the FHP as well. So they're searching for a hit-and-run suspect, and this did involve a fatality. They're looking for the suspect of a hit-and-run that killed a 25-year-old Freeport man. According to the FHP, a small, dark red Honda sedan said to be driven by 24-year-old Franklin Non-Caballero Velasquez was traveling north on Highway 331. 25-year-old Jacob Dixon was standing inside the travel lane on the highway. The Honda entered the median, re-entered the road, and hit Dixon. Dixon was pronounced dead at the scene. The FHP has recovered the Honda, but they have not located Velasquez, so anyone with information about his whereabouts, please contact the FHP or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And next up is the Fort Walton Beach Police Department is hoping maybe somebody out there might know who this burglary suspect is. The man pictured here, he's wanted in connection to a burglary that occurred in the early morning hours back on May 15th, and this was on McGriff Street in Fort Walton Beach. He was wearing a white t-shirt with what appears to be green lettering on the front and the back, and it looks like on the front the lettering reads all in capital letters. He was wearing blue jeans, a black belt, a black baseball cap, and some brown shoes. So take a look at those photos if you recognize him. Remember, 863-TIPS or EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com.
All right, we all know about porch pirates, but now we've got mailbox pirates. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is receiving complaints of mail being stolen from residential mailboxes in both the Niceville and the Fort Walton Beach area, specifically checks being mailed for bill payments. The checks are then being altered and cashed, or the victim's bank information is being used to produce counterfeit checks. We've got some tips we want to quickly share with you to help you avoid being victimized. First of all, you don't want to put your personal checks in your residential mailbox. Having your flag up on your mailbox is also an indication to a thief that you've got outgoing mail. If you need to do mail checks, use your local, or if you need to mail checks, that is, use your local post office or the blue postal boxes. And if your workplace allows, mail your checks in your outgoing mailbox from work. Also, you want to pay close attention to your accounts. Many folks don't realize their checks have been stolen until the next month's bill circulates showing unpaid. And of course, you'll want to report any suspicious activity of that type to the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. And if you have information about who's going around stealing these checks, obviously you want to contact Crime Stoppers.
And next up, a suspect is being sought by the Walton County Sheriff's Office in connection to a stabbing that occurred on May 19th. Deputies responded to First Street just after 10 p.m., reference to a domestic disturbance. Now, the suspect, William Ramos, and the victim were engaged in a verbal altercation after drinking on the beach earlier in the day. The argument quickly escalated, and Ramos used a kitchen knife to stab the victim one time in the side before fleeing the area on foot. Now, the victim did suffer a punctured lung, but no life-threatening injuries, thank goodness. Now, Walton and Holmes County Correctional Canine teams responded, but were unable to locate Ramos. Anybody with information about his location, of course, you can see his photograph there. Give us a call, 863-TIPS or EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com.
And if you're a cashier, you want to pay attention to this next case, because this does happen occasionally. You'll see this quick change scheme pop up. On May 12th, the below pictured male purchased 3 laptops from the Destin Walmart, paying for them in cash. The suspect was able to shortchange the cashier over $1,400 simply by taking the cash back under the pretense of recounting the money. The suspect folded over part of the cash, hid it in his left hand, and then returned the remaining cash to the cashier. You got to be paying close attention because this person was scamming them. And
that's a scam that seems to come back, just pops up every once in a while. We do see that all over, actually, not only just Florida, but nationally.
It's pretty brazen, but sometimes it works, so just be vigilant to that.
Yeah. Now, recently, the sudden and unexpected closure of Brooks Bridge after a barge strike caused quite a bit of chaos on local roadways, backing up traffic for miles.
Now, some people said they had trouble getting word on what was going on, so we wanted to let you know that within minutes of that barge strike, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office had sent out a nixle page through its dispatch that went directly to people's emails or to text to their cell phones, however you would want to get it. You can sign up for that, and we wanted to let you know how. Many of us know all too well that a bridge or road closure in Okaloosa County can mean miles of backed up motorists.
Go ahead and put an nixle out. We're going to have to close the entire bridge.
Staying connected to real-time information from a trusted source is easy. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office offers Nixle, a free, fast, secure text alert to citizens directly from our dispatch center. No spam, no advertising, and no user tracking. Signing up is simple at nixle.com. That's NIXLE.com. And keep in mind, those Nixle pages directly from OCSO Dispatch are also automatically uploaded to the OCSO Twitter account, which is at OCSO Alerts.
And we just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of this free and beneficial service. And again, that's Nixle, NIXLE.com.
Pretty simple to set that up too.
Yes.
Now we want to run down our first list of fugitives that are wanted by local law enforcement agencies, and those on this show are wanted as of today's taping date of May 24th.
And keep in mind, if you have any information that leads to an arrest or location of these individuals, you could earn a cash reward of up to $3,000, of course, depending on the severity of the crime. And of course, you never have to give your name. So first up is a new face to the show, and that's 28-year-old Anthony Michael Fraudley. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker. He was last known to live over in Fort Walton Beach.
Also searching for Nicholas Lee Bradley. He's 19, and he's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated assault. His last known address was in Mary Esther.
Casey Marie Jones, who was last known to live up in Funiac Springs, she's wanted for violation of probation for burglary, theft, and dealing in stolen property.
William James Barchewski, 34 years old, wanted for violating probation for battery on a law enforcement officer or firefighter, last known to live on Schneider Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And deputies are still searching for Lachey Monique Cooper, whose last known address was on Wayne Avenue in Fort Walton Beach. She's wanted for violation of probation for burglary and battery.
Check out this photo of Richard Huey Dixon Jr. Dixon's wanted for violation of probation on burglary charges, criminal mischief, and theft. Last known address was Hollywood Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach.
Another new face to the show this month is Johan Daniel Steele. He's wanted for violation of probation for introducing contraband into a detention center and possession of a controlled substance. His last known address was on Andrew Drive in Valparaiso.
And you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Lee Morris Grant. He's 48, wanted for VOP for battery and child abuse. Last known address Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
33-year-old Joseph Lee Fairchild, and he's being sought for violation of probation for aggravated assault.
Phoenix Wendell Jordan, he's wanted for robbery with a deadly weapon and burglary. Last known address Fort Walton Beach.
William Richard Fontenot is wanted for burglary and criminal mischief, last known to live on First Avenue up in Crestview.
Also trying to locate Jermore Keon Lee. He's wanted for failure to appear on a charge of leaving the scene of an accident, fleeing, eluding law enforcement, and driving with a license that's suspended or revoked.
And deputies are still searching for 33-year-old Tamothy Lacole Hankins, and she's wanted for insurance fraud, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft, last known to live in Laurel Hill, although I do believe they think she might be in Alabama somewhere.
At this point, okay. And Keisha Latrell Irby is next on the list. She's wanted for violating probation for 2 counts of grand theft.
Last on our first list is Frances Kelly Campbell. She's 33 years old. She's wanted for violation of probation for theft and failure to appear for leaving the scene of an accident, as well as driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live in Crestview. Now let's move on with a quick video on one of our favorite subjects, and that's canines.
That's right. OCSO Canine Axel recently went through some training to make sure that he still will quickly respond to all of his commands, even during the presence of gunfire. As always, you know, Canine Axel is a great dog. He did an outstanding job. It showed, as we all already knew, that he's got all the right stuff as a canine.
Absolutely. And now we're going to move forward with our next group of fugitives.
Clayton McCree Copeland, first on this list, wanted for violation of probation on a charge of providing false information to a pawnbroker and grand theft of a motor vehicle.
55-year-old Craig Mitchell Mayfield, he's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft of a motor vehicle, last known to live on Troy Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for Darrell LaShawn Williams. Williams wanted for lewd and lascivious behavior.
Back to Okaloosa County, they're searching for Coretta LaDawn James. She's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud, last known to live on Wilson Street in Crestview.
Now bouncing back to Walton County with James Dexter Jackson. He's wanted by the Walton SO for burglary, grand theft, and grand theft of a motor vehicle.
41-year-old Evelyn Janice Jones, she's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft as well as fraud.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is also looking for Devin Earl Jordan for felony violation of probation. His last known address was in Defuniak Springs.
Next up is 27-year-old Andrew Allen Coslow. He's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft of a firearm.
Anjoli Rochelle Johnson's been on the show for a while, wanted for aggravated battery, last known address Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
This is another one that's been on the show for a while. That's 27-year-old Reginald Dwayne Muse. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
And you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr., wanted for failure to appear on a charge of fraud, providing false statements to obtain unemployment compensation.
Walton County deputies are searching for William Brian Harnish, and they're looking for him for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia, last known to live in Freeport.
And here's an armed robbery suspect, Lucas Lorenzo Williams, wanted for a robbery that took place on October 27, 2016 in Defuniak Springs. His last known address was in Pensacola.
And this is another new one added to the list this month, and that's 24-year-old Samantha Maria Corbett. She's wanted for violation of probation for burglary, possession of a controlled substance, and giving a false name to law enforcement, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Take a look at this new photo as well. Corderic Markeith Brown. Brown's wanted for burglary, robbery by sudden snatching, and stalking.
And wrapping up this list is 34-year-old Timothy James Howard. He's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in the recovery of stolen property, as well as failure to appear for fraud, last known to live on Bear Head Road in Defuniak Springs. Now we're into hurricane season, and after the punishment Michael inflicted on Bay County and beyond, we want to remind everyone to make sure you are prepared for the wrath of any storm that might head our way.
You know, people always say that, but do you really get prepared? I think after Hurricane Michael, most of us are kind of rethinking, are we ready? The Okaloosa County Board of County Commissioners has a very thorough and a very informational hurricane guide on its webpage. Wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that. It's kind of a good one-stop shop to get the information you need. You'll just need to go to the emergency management section on their webpage and look for Hurricane Guide. Pretty simple. Also, a ceremony was hosted during National Police Week by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department, and of course that's always to honor law enforcement officers who've given the ultimate sacrifice.
That's right, and Chief Robert Beige said the annual service focuses on highlighting the heroism of the fallen. Now, multiple civilian and military law enforcement agencies were on hand to show their support. And now we have another chance for you to review some of the people still out there law enforcement's looking for, and that's our last list for this show.
And kicking off with Felipe Carrera Gonzalez Sr., wanted for failure to appear for battery. Last known address was on Earl Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is Seamus Mason Cotner Marshall. He's also got some Santa Rosa County warrants, but he's wanted for violation of probation for battery and fraud, last known to live in Mary Esther.
We're hoping somebody out there knows where to find George Monroe Emmerich II. He's been wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for a while on a charge of violating probation for domestic violence strangulation and aggravated battery.
33-year-old Jessica Lynn Allen's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft.
One day we hope to say this next guy's been captured. Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation.
And we're not giving up on that one for sure. 32-year-old Brittany Linnell Sanders is being sought by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for create, use, or possess counterfeit credit cards with the intent to use counterfeit information.
Next up, Daniel Lewis Davis. Davis was wanted for VOP for burglary. His last known address was in Crestview.
Roderick James Rutterson Jr., who was last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school, as well as failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked.
New face on the show, Phyllis Elaine Tannehill. She's wanted for VOP for grand theft and grand theft of a motor vehicle. She was last known to live on Bradford Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And deputies are still searching for Samuel Edward Thomas III. He's wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft, last known to live in Shalimar.
Heading over to Walton County, the Walton County SO looking for James Anthony Williams. Williams wanted for VOP possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
Back to Okaloosa County, they're searching for 26-year-old Tyler Lee Andrews. She's wanted for violation of probation on the original charges of grand theft of a motor vehicle, as well as possession of methamphetamine.
Tashawn Coward Sr. has been on the show for a while. He's wanted for driving with a license suspended or revoked and non-payment of child support.
58-year-old Bobby Darren Simmons, and he's wanted for felony violation of probation, last known to live in Wetzel Road in Sampson.
Lots of felony violations of probation. That's the case with this next individual, Herbert Samuel Duggar, wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office.
And 24-year-old LaQuinton Rashawn Mitchell, he's being sought for heroin distribution, last known to live in Milligan.
Here's Lethia Lynette Garcia, wanted for fraud. She swindled a 77-year-old by using a fake letter from a charitable organization. Her last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is Eric Dwayne Russell, and he's wanted for burglary as well as larceny.
And we've got Tony Wayne Paulin, wanted for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, and theft.
And some good news, we can remove Lawrence Wally Posey from the wanted list. He has been located since our last show.
But we can't take off Kendrick Cordell Boxey just yet. Boxey's wanted for VOP for child neglect.
Next up is 29-year-old Crystal Renee Bailey. She's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, as well as violation of probation for retail theft, last known to live on Sasser Street in Niceville.
And last on the list, David William Armstrong, wanted for VOP for fraud, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft. So just keep in mind there are multiple ways to contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you have any indication where these individuals are. If your information leads to an arrest, you could earn a cash reward. And you never have to give your name.
That's right.
So it's a pretty good deal. Now, great food, great weather, and of course, as always, a great turnout. This year's annual Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers Crawfish Boil.
That's right. We talk about it all through the year. And of course, thanks to the help of our sponsors and our community, as well as our volunteer board members. And we also want to thank the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Explorers. The event actually brought in approximately $17,000. So take a look.
thank you, thank you. And if you don't want me, you don't have to go. Thank you. And if you don't want me, you don't have to go. A roll by five. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm gonna say play your guitar.
And that was really a great day. Couldn't have been better weather. Many people don't realize, however, that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers relies very heavily on private donations.
That's right, and of course that money is put to good use. Last year alone, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers approved more than $18,000 in rewards and had 87 arrests, which resulted in 105 cases cleared for our law enforcement partners, who of course we couldn't do it without as well the support we get from not only the sheriff's offices in both Okaloosa and Walton County, but all of the police municipalities as well. So we want to thank all of you out there that took part in helping us, the program, achieve that outstanding success. And of course we couldn't do it without you, and those efforts obviously help keep our community a safer place to live and raise children.
And that's what it's all about. And that's also going to wrap up this month's edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Thanks so much for watching.